Hello, everyone. I'm Steve. Mark's working late tonight, and this is Smokey, Steve, and Mark. Either welcome or welcome back, and happy Thursday. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is safe. Look after yourselves. Look after the people around you. Look after yourselves, you hear? Okay, that's the PSA for today. So, story time today. It is Thursday. Bit of inspiration for this week's story time. The last few have had different inspirations. By the way, I've shaved my head. The blonde is gone. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. But I was having one of those, like, I need a change kind of days earlier this, like, middle of this week, and I was like, I'm just shaving it all off. It'll be back in a week and a half, and I'll probably dye it again. So that was last week. Okay. So another kind of, I don't know how I got on the theme of insecurities exactly, but I was going through old photos on my phone, just scrolling, and I found an old picture from a heavier weight that I was. It was from Christmas from a few years ago. And I cringed. I cringed because I was heavier. You know, I'm, just for the record, I'm currently 6 feet tall and about 195, 200 pounds, somewhere in that range. Okay. This channel started as a weight loss channel, for anyone who's not familiar. Before Mark was on board, it was Smoke Yourself Thin was the name of the channel. It was a nod to Troy McClure from The Simpsons. It was a program, a fake infomercial product he was selling. So I had that, and then I was about 230 pounds when the channel started, but I had already lost about 40 before that. So I already had a little bit of weight loss under my belt, and on the channel, I forget how long it took, I went 230 to 180. That was the goal. Then COVID hit, and I got lazy, and I'm not moving around, and yop, excuse after excuse, I gained about 15 plus pounds back. So, at the moment, we're dealing with that. But as I looked at the pictures, I thought, I've always been the fat one. More often than not, I've been the fat one. I've been fat more than I've been thin for most of my life. And I don't remember how I started, how it ended with me as an adult recovering from eating disorders and stuff. Obviously, it took a different direction than I thought. But going back, I've always been the fat one in any given situation, and it's interesting if you've never been the fat one, and it's particularly interesting if you've been the fat one and then not been the fat one, and to see how the world looks different to you. So as a kid, I was a normal size till I was like 6, 7, maybe. I was a very anxious, very high-strung kid. Everything scared me, loud noises scared me. If we were in school together and the person next to me started making trouble for the teacher and they got yelled at, I'd burst into tears. I would erupt. So I don't know if I started using food to cope with anxiety, or if something happened, or there was an event, but I started to eat a lot. Right before the age of like 10, 8, 9, 10. To the point where I had showed my mother I thought I had a rash. I had stretch marks from my knee to my groin on both thighs because I was gaining weight so quickly that my skin was splitting. And then I started getting them on my love handles, and then around my belly button, and then under my chest, and then on my arm. I mean, this was over a period of years. I was just exploding out of my skin. I was way heavier than everyone in school. I was the fat kid. I was smart. I was shy, as far as everyone knew. I wasn't shy at home, but I was very shy at school because I didn't want to draw any attention to myself because, you know, I was the fat kid. I didn't want all eyes on me, because whenever it was not for a good reason. So I kind of kept to myself. I had one friend who was like the total nerd geek in the class, and we were besties, and we had fun, and we had a good time. But he was the other pariah in the class. So always the fat one. Gym class, nightmare. Changing in the corner with my back to people. I carried weight and still do now I have loose skin in some of those areas. Well, it's not as loose as it was because I put on some weight. Very unflattering. I carry it mostly in my stomach and then a lot of it in my chest. And that was uncomfortable. And that's something that teenage boys who ridicule. I mean, it stuck out. It was noticeable. So all the extra, to the extent that I did extracurricular activities, I was picked on. Like, I was in a bowling league. I'm a very good bowler, by the way. I had a 180 average. When I was in the height of my bowling, I had my own bowling ball and a bag. This is not part of the story. But of course, what's the only fat kid sport I was going to do? Bowling. So, I played Little League and basketball, but I got too fat to do it. I was so fat they made me catcher, and then I was too fat to do anything else. So bowling. Everything's funnier when a fat person does it. If a fat person falls, it's funnier. If a fat person spills food on themselves, it's funnier. If a fat person slips on ice, it's funnier. That's cruel. Don't pretend it's wrong, though. Okay? Let's be real. Okay. Maybe I'm just not a nice person. I'm sorry. Maybe you're nicer than me. But I think it's funny. And I've been fat. And I think it's funny, too. So I was just the butt of a lot of different kind of jokes. Some of it came from within, like, the family, because my sister isn't overweight. My brother was a little overweight, is a little overweight, but he married a doctor. So she's on his case pretty often about his health. So, you know, you reap what you sow. And my parents are not, my father was always had a belly, but he wasn't super overweight, and now he's diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and guess what? Changed his diet, got his health under control, and he's pretty much okay now. Guess that can happen to some people. Pretty beauty. You know, with lifestyle changes. And my mother's fine. She's not overweight either. So again, another thing where no one else in my family seems to deal with the problem that I have. I'm just another dropped at the doorstep milkman's child, it seems like. So I get through high school, and as I'm going into high school, everyone's making themselves over. And I decide I'm not going to be the fat kid anymore. So there's a kid in my class, and his name was, I forget. It's been so long, and I tried to block out high school. I don't have fond memories of most of it. And I asked him how much he weighed, because I had lost probably the summer going into my sophomore year of high school. I think I lost maybe 15 or 20 pounds from 260, 270. Now I've lost 100 pounds like 3 times, so these are no miracles. And nobody had noticed because I was so fat, I could have lost 20 pounds and you couldn't see it. And I asked him how much he weighed, and he said 155. And I thought in my head, I'm going to be 154. Okay? Because he was like the smallest guy in the class. For my height. He was 6 feet tall too. I'm 6 feet tall. So as the year goes on, I'm losing weight, and people are starting to notice little by little, and I was getting addicted to the attention and the sense of accomplishments and the pats on the head for doing what seemed like it was impossible to me. And the weight started coming off. And when it wasn't coming off fast enough, then we careen into the land of eating disorders, which has been documented in a bunch of other videos of mine, and I'd be happy to talk about more nuances of it some other time. But suffice it to say, I got to a state of thinness, a bit underweight, in no healthy way at all. And I was thin in the way that people look thin when they're sick. Yeah, I was pale, I was drawn, gaunt, kind of. I didn't have any muscle tone. I wasn't working out. I was just not eating. So I was like hanging, the hanging skin was hanging. But, you know, in clothes I was fine. I would just put really tight wife beaters on underneath, kind of like Spanx for men, and then just try to wrap myself up and look presentable. So then I wasn't the fat kid anymore. Of course, after that, when I started having a personality, I was the gay kid. I wasn't out in high school. That was a mess because I wasn't gonna, what was I gonna say? No, I'm not. I was so much more flamboyant when I was in the closet. And had I come out, it probably would have been fine. Though it was the late 90s in a small town in Pennsylvania. It was a little bit different. So I get out of high school, thin. I get into college, thin. Fine. Then we hit like 2000 or so. 2000, I start college. And I start at one school and I transfer to another. And in between that transferring, I had gained maybe 10 pounds. No big deal. Because I was probably like 165 or so. I was at a lower weight. Twink weight. You know, I was a gay fighting weight. Average gay weight, I'm talking out my ass here, but this is my observation, is actually only 90% ideal weight for a man's height. So even though I'm 6 feet tall, the expectation would be that I would probably be between 140 and 150 pounds. Now, if you're a swimmer's build, sure, but I'm built for hauling borax across the desert. I was not going to be a swimmer's build, and I was never going to have abs because my gut was out to here, and I was never going to have pecs because I was built like Dolly Parton. So it was not going to happen for me, no matter how much I starved myself. So I gained a little weight, and I gained a little more weight. And then we're talking, I'm like 21, 22, going out to the bars, and my clothes are a little tight. And all of a sudden, I was like a pariah. I was too fat to be out. I was too fat to be seen. In fact, I was probably a little more invisible or in the way. The kind of bars I used to go to were, well, I'd go underage, but generally they were kind of divey. They were kind of off the beaten path. I used to like to go to the clubs, but try to be a fat guy in a gay bar, you just get shoved out of the way. You know, those guys, they look, weak and boom, shove you right out of the way. So I would go and I'd feel out of place, and of course I would never meet anybody, and I would try to introduce myself, and no one wanted to say hi. And it's not that big folks, obese folks, can't be the life of the party, or physically attractive, or the center of attention. But I'm carrying all that weight, plus my emotional baggage, with it. And I'm sure it's all over my face, too. So it's as much about how I look and a shallow culture as much as it's about my self-esteem and carrying myself in this body. So it's an interplay of the two. I'm not saying the world's shallow and I was gorgeous at 300 pounds. I'm saying being 300 pounds also I mean, the first part's true, but also me being 300 shot my confidence. And nothing says unsexy like, I feel sorry for myself. Buy me a drink. So to that end, it wasn't, culture's fault. So I end up getting thin again at some point. I lost a little bit more weight, and I was going back out and trying to meet people, and it wasn't working, because at that point I was just drinking all the time, and I was doing alcoholorexia. Like, I won't eat, I'll save my calories for the booze, but then when you don't eat and you drink, you get drunk faster. But because I was an alcoholic in training, that was the goal anyway. When all you do is drink and don't eat food, you don't look good. You don't look good. And talk about setting yourself up for a binge. By the time you do cave and eat something, that's all you do. So I got all fat and bloated, and then I moved back I was living in Philadelphia, to semi-rural sort of city. I wasn't in Scranton at the time. I was in a small town outside of Scranton. And I realized everyone's a little heavier here. I kind of blend in, actually. What felt fat in an urban space seemed perfectly acceptable where I was. So I blended in and didn't make much of an effort to change my appearance. Then over the period of the next 6 years was my drinking. So we're talking like 2006. I finished college. 2000, 2005, I'm in college. I'd hang out in Philly a few more years and make a mess. 2006, 2012, I'm home. I'm obese. I'm hitting close to 300 pounds while I'm there. Online dating, I don't have a smartphone. I'm talking to maybe guys online here and there just to have a pleasant conversation, and they say, send me a pic, and I'm sending a pic from, like, my senior year of high school. What are they? Fat fishing. That's what they call it. I would only send flattering pics that were well lit from here up. And men being men want a body shot. Doesn't matter if they're gay or straight. They want to see everything. And they want to see it, like, first. And I wouldn't. And they would go away. Now, what I would attract periodically would be what they call like a chubby chaser, maybe. Some guys into the bear community, and I thought, bear? I was a twink for like 20 minutes, but all of a sudden I'm a bear because I don't groom anymore, and I got heavy. But there's guys who are into that kind of thing, and some of them found me, and that's flattering, and it's good to know that, no matter what I think's wrong with me, there's a lid for every pot. That was reassuring to me that I wasn't unattractive. But I wasn't necessarily attracted to the kind of guys that were attracted to me. Further, people that are chubby chasers, and I was thinking about Hootie Beauty when I was thinking about this, because it parallels kind of the BBW thing. When I would go searching for people, I wouldn't search for people that were chubby chasers who liked fat guys. Necessarily. Please forgive my use of the word fat. I will talk about myself anyway, I damn well please. Who weren't looking for fat guys exactly. On the BBW side, she would say, I'm looking for people that want BBWs. Why would I waste my time with anybody else? The problem with a chubby chaser would be they'd like me because I'm fat. Meaning if I lose weight, which of course I wanted to do, they'd leave. Finding someone who likes me because I'm fat and finding someone who likes me the way I am, however that turns out to be. They like me as a person and not for my size, so it doesn't matter what size I am. That was the kind of relationship I was hoping to run into. Not one where it's like fetishized. Who thought that I could be treated like an object? But if you like me just because I'm fat, and you don't care anything else about me, then I guess that's kind of what it is. So we steered away from online dating after that for a while. Uh, During the middle of this, going towards 2012, I did meet Mark, and I met Mark at rehab. We weren't a rehab romance; we were just friends there, and then we respectively went our own ways and got our shit together, and then 4 years later started dating. But when I met him, I was at probably my heaviest adult weight ever. I was 290 and change. I was almost 300 pounds. And he said, "Oh, I had no idea you were interested in me." Well, I knew damn well he wasn't interested in me, and I assumed it's because I was just a very, very large person. And when I was that heavy, I felt I had to compensate by being funny, being smart, being witty, being generous. Here, you need a cigarette, take my pack. It's okay, I have plenty. No, I don't, but I want you to like me, so here's this. I want you to look past what I'm mostly embarrassed about, so let me overcompensate in every other way possible. Let me laugh at your jokes, let me drive you here and there. Oh, I don't need gas money, it's fine. Let me disrespect myself in hopes that you'll look past the thing that I'm humiliated by. So I was not body positive when I was a larger person. I would say I'm more body positive now than I was then. If it's even a thing, I would be more body positive now. So when I moved back in with my parents and I got out of rehab and everything, I lost like 30 pounds pretty fast, and then gained it back again. Mark and I got together and moved in together, and I had asked him periodically about my weight. One of the first questions I had asked him, no joke, this isn't meant to be YouTube funny, I asked him, how fat can I get before you'll leave? Because I knew I wasn't at my highest weight, and I couldn't guarantee him a partner who was gonna not be obese or not be super skinny at some point, because I have a fluctuating relationship with myself as far as my looks and my relationship with food and body image and everything that goes with it. And he was cool with that. He was okay with that. That gave me the freedom to breathe, finally. I could stop sucking in my stomach, which I had been doing every day for 20 years prior. It was a relief to find myself in that relationship. And actually, when I had that relief, then the weight started coming off. Validation, I think, shouldn't come from other people. It should come from yourself. Mark's words were kind and reassuring and encouraging. I'd wish they'd come from me. I'm glad they came from him. But putting it all together, I was very, very happy that I had met Mark and that he was reassuring in that way. And in that kind of safe space, I lost a bunch of weight. I did it on YouTube. I lost 50 of it and documented it. I was doing like weekly weigh-ins and things like that. And then, like I said, I lost my weight, got down to 180, and then I gained COVID weight back. So here's where we get to body positivity and acceptance, such that we can. My take on it, not, let's eat ourselves into a bed and then throw on some lipstick and make everyone tell you you're beautiful. That's not what I'm talking about. Body positive in the sense that I've lost weight, I've gained weight. I am no less of a person because I've gained weight. I am worthy of dignity, respect, all those normal things. I like my body. I don't really prefer the shape that it's in right now. I would prefer it to be the smaller shape it was before. And that can happen as a result of choices that I make. So, to me, body positivity has to do a lot with, like, respecting your body. I can be okay with the body that I'm in and still want to do things to improve and to change it. And then I have to make those changes. Body positivity to me is about my body. It's not about telling you how you should think about my body. You know what I mean? Like, it's about me. It's not about you and telling you. You should look at me and tell me I'm attractive. If you tell me I have a pretty face, it means you don't think the rest of me is pretty. It ain't! But, So bringing this all home, that's the story of my fatness. And of times I was left out for being fat, or felt left out for being fat. And the things I tried to do about it to make myself fit in, and starving myself down to see if that would work. And, meeting people who just like fat guys and thinking that would make me feel better. And it wasn't until I found myself older. Age has a lot to do with it. If you're like in your 20s and you're struggling with like body image stuff, work on it, but also know that age cures a lot of that shit too. So just hang in there. But in a relationship where I found a safe space to just be me, warts and all, I was able to grow out of that. Do I still think about my body? Yes. The leftovers from eating disorder days are not so much the behaviors, or even the thoughts and the preoccupations about food, weight, calories, numbers. It's the body image stuff. It's totally the body image stuff. Between me and YouTube, so this is everybody, Mark and I were together for 5 years, 6 years, before I actually took my shirt off during private, intimate moments. Because too uncomfortable for me. Never had my shirt off at the beach. I don't like nothing. It's just not something I'm comfortable with. Will I ever be comfortable with it? Maybe, probably. As more time passes and I get more comfortable with my skin and I get easier with the fuck it, I'm too old for this shit kind of thing. I'm kind of waiting for that to kind of sink in a little bit. But for now, I can say I'm okay with my body. I don't feel fat. Fat is not a feeling. I could probably do a whole video on how fat's not a feeling. I can live with the clothes I have on. They fit. I eat food when I'm hungry. I stop when I'm full. I'm working towards removing the weight that I've gained during COVID. I have a reasonable goal weight to get to. I have reasonable methods to get there. And I'm not going to hate myself. This is the goal. This is positive. This is my own pep talk. You're just eavesdropping. I'm not going to hate myself until I get to my goal. I'm going to get to that goal by taking care of myself, and that'll be the demonstration of it. This is the positive self-talk I'm trying. So I'm so used to diet culture in Western culture is vicious. We're often encouraged to insult ourselves into losing weight. How many people have the internal monologue when they're at the gym? Go faster, you greedy fat pig. God, you barely burned off that piece of cake you had 3 years ago. Blah, 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 blah. Take 2 bites of something and you're tempted to go spit it out because you don't want to ruin the workout you did earlier. A lot of us are vicious to ourselves. Not to other people, but to ourselves about the food we eat. For me, part of body positivity is not punishing myself over stuff that I eat. It's not intuitive eating. I don't eat anything I damn well please when I damn well please. A bit of restriction works. Call it discipline. I guess. So bottom line, being the fat kid sucked. It was hard. Once you've been fat, you always have a fat spirit, though. I think. Once you've been big, you've always had a big spirit, because you know what it's like to be a little bit on the outside, and you know what it's like to be a little bit teased. And it softens you up when you see other people getting picked on, too. Especially if you grew up fat. It's one thing if you got fat as an adult, but if you grew up fat, you see the world a little softer, I think. I think you take a kinder eye to some people as far as like bullying and getting picked on and things like that. So I guess there were some life lessons to take away. I wish I could have got them a little more easily and it wouldn't have ruined middle school, but so it goes. So thank you all for joining this story time. Please do subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell on your way out so you get the alert every time we go live and also when we have a new video coming out. You can follow Mark and I on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc or on Twitter. Our handle's at SmokeySteveA. Our email address and our contact information is also listed down below as well. Thank you again, and we will catch up with y'all tomorrow for TGIF. Thank God. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening. Bye.